Greetings. Introducing Voices of Festival, brand new podcast series from the International African Arts Festival, created to keep you connected as we count down to our 55th year of culture, creativity, and community. Each week, hear directly from the artists, dancers, musicians, vendors, and community members who make this festival an unforgettable experience. Tune in every Thursday at 8 p.m. on YouTube for Voices of Festival. Celebrate the culture, feel the rhythm, be part of the journey. Abarigani, Salaam Alaikum, Alafia, Shalom, and welcome to Voices of Festival. I'm Adeyemi Bandeli, your host tonight. Going solo today, and so going to do the best we can. We miss Sakina not being with us. Our show tonight is really dedicated to a piece that I have been involved with, oh my goodness, well, since I became a parent. I don't want to give it all away, but to all the fathers in the house and to the single mothers in the house, please stay with us. But let's get into some business here. First of all, once again, welcome to Voices of Festival. We are pushing hard for you to please subscribe, share, most importantly, share so that other folks can subscribe to us. And of course, hit that like button. As always, the piece that Sakina does, I'm doing tonight, which is to pay tribute to our ancestors. And so we begin tonight with remembering and praising Baba Jitu Weyusi, Mzee Moyo, Salima Moyo, Brother Setu Dyson, Russell Brown the Clown, Mama Amanisha, Mama Lottie, Chief Bey, Mama Abimbola Wali, Nana Dinizulu, Nana Kimati Dinizulu, Randy Weston, Scobie Stroman, Al Van, Kudja Bandeli, Baba Kwame Ishangi. And for all of them, we say Ibaye. And we've got some upcoming events that we want you to be sure to put on your calendar and come out. On the 7th of June, we will be holding our libation program, which is always the kickoff to our festival season. And so the libation program will take place June 7th, 3 p.m. at Restoration Plaza in Brooklyn on Fulton Street. Popular location, so I'm sure that you're aware of it. And then we go to the big one, our 55th anniversary of the International African Arts Festival. We are in a new location, no longer downtown Brooklyn. We're back up in the hood at Lincoln Terrace Park. Personally, I grew up around the corner for it, and our producer also came from that neck of the woods. So it's interesting. We almost feel like we're returning back home. But again, we start on the 3rd of July and on the 5th, our 55th International African Arts Festival. Our theme, Hanganini, and it means let us come together in peace. And it is about that, but it's about us coming together in order to create peace. And in order to create peace, we got to have some justice. So our struggle continues to bring about justice to achieve that peace. And so that's what I got in store for you so far. We'll repeat all of this once again so you don't miss it and you can share it with folks. Tonight, we have with us, as in each show going forward, we're going to highlight some of the vendors and craftspeople that make the festival possible. Because you may not be aware, but the bulk of our support has historically come from the vendors and craftspeople. And that's because many of you came out. And so for them, it's a source of support. For some of our vendors, in fact, festival represented their largest income for the year. Just like the big stores, the Macy's, etc., that Christmas shopping is a major part of their income. Well, for us, festival. And for those who come out, represents a major part of their income as artisans and craftspeople. So we want you to support them. And so tonight we are joined by the owner of the Sheatopia Soap Company. She is none other than Sister Tasha Davis. Welcome to Voices of Festival.
Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. So tell us quickly, let's have an overview of your products. What is it that you've got? And I'm assuming that it's got something to do with shea.
Listen, in Sheatopia land, shea is the thing. It is in almost everything we make, from our handmade organic soaps to our uniquely scented shea butter to our body oils, leave-in conditioners. Everything from head to toe we have has a little bit of shea in it or a lot of shea in it. But we know that shea is the most amazing natural moisturizer on the planet, and we do not take it lightly, and we put it in everything.
How did this come into being? You happened to run into some shea butter and got hooked on it?
Sort of, kind of, I did. Back in 2013, I met the owner of Pure Shea Store. His name was Chris Thickpen. They called him he was dubbed the Soap Man. And I was at a festival, and we were having a conversation about shea butter. And of course, not being familiar with the product, he gave me the whole layout on what it is and why you should use it and how you should clean it and everything. And from that moment until now, I have been a avid user of shea butter, and as well ended up being his life partner until he passed away in 2023 tragically. So when he passed, Pure Shea Store ceased to be, and with the blessing of his mother, Miss Sandra Lynette Thigpen, before she passed, she gave me her blessing to start Sheatopia. She actually named the company. And it was ironic because I had a piece of paper that had about, I want to say 500 words back and front on the paper. And Sheatopia was always the one in the middle, and it always stood out. And for me, Sheatopia, it gives me the vibe of a land where you're lush and you're moisturized and it's just luxury. And that's exactly what we try to instill and provide to our customers.
So what are the types of shea products that you have?
The main thing we have is handmade organic soap. Basically, it's old-fashioned light soap. I always say with a little razzle dazzle. Our soaps have no more than 5 to 6 ingredients in them. So they're all natural, all handmade. There are no parabens or anything that's in commercial soap to break down your skin. We build it up. We also do hair and body oils. We do leave-in conditioners. We have a whole hairline. I've been locked for almost 10 years. And ironically, Chris encouraged me to lock my hair and made the products that I use in my hair even until this day. So we do that. We do sugar scrubs. We do coconut oils. We even have an eczema butter that is specifically for people who suffer with eczema, because we know eczema is a disease. I always say a condition of dryness where your body doesn't produce enough moisture to moisturize itself. We have a product that can help you with that. So we do a lot of different things. We make about 40 different soaps, about just as many different fragrances of shea butter, including raw, which is
40 fragrances.
40 fragrances.
Do you have any fragrances in the world?
Turmeric, cocoa mango, black cherry, blue eucalyptus, blueberry citrus, vanilla, strawberry, chocolate, pineapple.
All right, but let me hit you with a hard one. Okay. You got any sandalwood?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Sandalwood, frankincense, patchouli, kush.
All right.
Kush, yeah. We try to.
I'll see you out there, because it's very difficult to find the sandalwood products because they pretty much destroyed and used up all of the sandalwood that there is in the world. Yeah, so I'm always glad to find some.
Yeah, we do a sandalwood soap and a sandalwood shea butter. And also I have listen, it smells so good. Smells so good, yes.
Oh, yes. Great. How long have you been coming to the festival?
Sheatopia, this will be our third year at
Okay.
Sheatopia. But previous to, I would come with Chris when he was with when he was living with Pure Shea Store. I actually used to work really closely with Miss Ellen Lee.
Oh,
She and I are really close. She is actually from Sumter, South Carolina, which is like 2 hours
is that
from
right?
me.
I didn't know she was. Now, what
Yeah.
are you all, Geechee or Gullah?
Southern, just Southern.
That's something. You ain't gonna get caught up in that,
Just look, I have some friends that are near Charleston, and when we talk, we get we speed up really fast. So, but it's a little bit of everything in there. But I
That's
always think
wonderful.
so fondly of Miss Ellen because she would tell me, tell Chris to be here and not say nothing but hi.
All right. Listen, I
So
want to thank you so very much for being with us. And as I said, put aside my sandalwood stuff, and I'll definitely be out there to see you. So, again,
definitely.
tell us the name of your company.
We are Sheatopia Soap Company. We're on Instagram is Sheatopia SC. We're www.sheatopia, SHEATOPIA, soapcompany.com. If you are ashy, we got you.
I'm laughing because of this segue. When I saw SC, I thought you meant South Carolina.
And that does help as well because we are
Yeah.
located in South Carolina.
Hey, but listen, God is so great because before we came on, we were having a little discussion with our next guest,
Right.
and come to find out, and beware, let's bring in our guest, by the way, Dr. David Miller. Hey, David, welcome.
Hey, how y'all doing?
How you doing?
I'm going to do your whole bio, but we just had to take advantage of this moment because I was asking David, where was he? And David said he's in Myrtle Beach. So I think the assumption was he was just hanging out, which was mine too.
Right.
Tell us what happened, David.
No, Sister Tasha was saying she was in outside of Myrtle Beach and she works for Head Start. And then I'm here at the Head Start conference. And so, everything is in divine order. And when you interviewing the sister, I found on Instagram, I'm trying to place an order.
Listen, that is amazing. Listen, don't place an order. I will be there tomorrow.
Oh, no. You got to bring me some stuff.
Listen, I got a whole Suburban full of
Hey.
soaps and oils and shea butters.
Look at that.
Listen, I got you. It's crazy because when you said you're in Myrtle Beach, I'm like, well, I'm 20 minutes from Myrtle Beach. And what are you doing in Myrtle Beach? And you said that you were there for the conference. And I'm like, well, I work for Head Start. Actually, the very first year that we had the Head Start Fatherhood Conference in Myrtle Beach, I was one of the people that started it.
Nice.
And I know Jerome very well. He is such an amazing man. And for years, he's like, you need to come set up and sell your soap. And I'm like, oh, okay.
All right. So you're wearing two hats. You work for Head Start, but you're going to be vending there.
Yes, sir.
Now let me ask both of you. Ron Herndon, was he a part of this Head Start? Does the name ring a bell?
The name rings a bell.
He's out of Portland because he was director of the Head Start program, and I think it was the fatherhood portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do know that fathers from all over the country come every year. Last year, Stedman Graham was the keynote speaker at the Fatherhood Conference, and I actually got to do a class or a presentation on changing your passion to a profit. And several people that were in there were from California, from Oregon, from all over the place. And it was so amazing to meet people that have come so far. And in the name of fatherhood, in the name of children, especially in this day and age, because I'm telling you, it is needed. I've been with Head Start 15, almost 16 years. And to see the transition in everything, fathers are needed more now than ever.
What an incredible segue. Tasha, thank you so very much. But one question as you roll out. Did Stedman get something for Oprah?
I don't know who he got it for, but he did get some shea butter. And I did get the photo op. And he even paid for it.
Thank you so very much. Y'all stay safe down there in Myrtle Beach. And we'll see you the 3rd through the 5th in Brooklyn.
Yes, sir.
Be
David,
blessed. And thank you so much.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, all right. David, first of all, congratulations and much respect for your doctorate. All right.
Thank you.
And I have to give you your props and read the bio. Scholar, activist, and practitioner with a PhD from Morgan State University, Department of Social Work. For those of you who don't know, that's a historically Black college. And Dr. Miller explores how Black fatherhood protects our children. Through research and community engagement, Dr. Miller applies culturally relevant methods to engage Black men and boys. He publishes articles on Black fatherhood, men, and boys in leading journals and periodicals. As co-lead of the Baltimore Rites of Passage Initiative, he teaches Reclaiming Manhood. Let me turn the page here. I'm going to give it all to you. Using African-centered principles, believing that this is the antidote to challenges distorting masculinity. Beyond articles, Dr. Miller has written numerous children's books and is co-editing Letters to My 13-Year-Old Self, Wisdom, Wounds, and Wins, an intergenerational love letter from Black men to boys, and is due out in September. And I thank you for asking me to make a contribution to that. I am honored. Dr. Miller's impact extends globally through collaborative literacy projects in Jamaica, Ghana, South Africa, and Cuba. He serves as global ambassador for the Grassroots Community Foundation, Menstrual Equity Council, and leads efforts to address period poverty in the U.S., Jamaica, Kenya, South Africa, and Ghana, working directly with local organizations and schools to implement sustainable programs and activities. Dr. David Miller. Hey, man, I'm proud of you, brother.
Oh, man.
Proud of you. Hey, listen, let me ask a quick question, because in reading the I know producer gonna get on me for that. Sorry. In reading the bio, I saw that Cuba was involved here, and it struck me because I wanted to know whether in a country like Cuba, which has a whole different social dynamics, what were the challenges that they're experiencing around fatherhood?
So interesting. So the work that we are ramping up and already started is really around getting books by Black authors into a Afro-Cuban village, which is called the village of Matanza. That's an Afro-Cuban village. I've been working with people like Baba Paul Coates at Black Classic Press. He just took another delegation a couple of months ago. Most people don't realize that the power was completely shut out.
Yeah,
it completely went off the grid a couple of weeks ago, and I'm actually getting ready to host a meeting in Baltimore with some folks from the Cuban embassy to talk about ways that we can better support the Afro-Cuban experience in Cuba. As it relates to the fatherhood.
But before you go move from that, can you share that meeting? Is that something?
I will. Okay, it'll probably be sometime in June. We're trying to work on a date because I know a lot of folks are interested in Cuba and really trying to figure out ways to better support groups on the ground, that are really, really struggling. And so
please,
I'll keep you abreast on that.
And we'll certainly share it.
Yeah, so I'm doing a couple of things. One of the things that I'm doing is really looking at social work through the diaspora. I'm actually working on an article now around looking at efforts throughout the diaspora to decolonize social workers. Historically, in the diaspora, folks have used Western models, very Eurocentric models of social work practices that we know don't necessarily work. So I'm working on an article that's actually due on Friday, looking at ways to decolonize the practice of social work and to really look at healing modalities from a traditional African framework in terms of spirituality, the work that we do with families, kinship, really looking at that versus what happens, particularly here in this country, where, okay, you having a challenge, we just want to give you a pill.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, doing some of that. But on the fatherhood front, haven't started any work as it relates to engaging fathers in Cuba, but that's definitely on the horizon.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see what the dynamics is like in a country like Cuba, in a
Yeah.
socialist country. Um, David, we go back, I guess maybe almost 20 something years, but share with our viewers your journey to this fatherhood work.
Yeah, I mean, so really it starts with, again, I think too often Black fathers have a public relations challenge because we know that many of us were raised by fathers, grandfathers, and village dads who oftentimes have never been recognized. I grew up on the west side of Baltimore. Mom and dad were married, even though we, as a family, we had our own set of struggles. Was raised by my grandfather. I'm a fisherman. I fish 12 months out of the year, and that's because my grandfather, when my dad was at work, my grandfather had retired from the shipyards. He took me and my brother fishing, and so I've always been heavily influenced by Black fathers, whether it was Black fathers in my clan, or the Black fathers at the barbershop, or the Black fathers that coached Little League baseball. I had a wrestling coach in high school, and I would submit, Baba Adeyemi, that part of the challenge is, we've been sold a bill of goods that Black fathers are absent. We know that fathers are absent regardless of race or socioeconomic background. What the data tells us is that Black fathers are more involved in their children's lives than fathers of other racial groups.
Is that right?
The Center for Disease Control did a major longitudinal study. It was originally released in 2013 that talks about Black fathers being more involved in their children's lives. They may not necessarily live in the same household as their child. And in many situations, we are unmarried, but we're still taking children to school. We're still doing our daughter's hair. We're still doing all of the things that fathers of other racial groups do, and we're doing it at a higher level statistically than white dads, Asian dads, and Latino dads. But we keep selling this narrative that Black fathers are absent. Are Black fathers absent? Sure. In some communities, does single parent households run by women hover astronomical rates? True. But by and large, when you look at the landscape of the fatherhood experience, we're involved at higher levels. And my work, along with a bunch of other brothers and sisters across the country, is really to elevate that work and to provide, health and healing strategies, to provide strategies for co-parenting. Like I'm working on a major co-parenting curriculum. I have 3 adult children. My oldest daughter is 30. Me and her mom never really worked out. I mean, we had sex and had a baby, so we worked out at that point. But after that, we weren't together. And so I had a hellacious experience with co-parenting, learned a lot, would have done some things differently. And so I'm going to be turning that into a major co-parenting model for Black fathers that can be used by groups like Head Start and other community organizations, because oftentimes, as a Black father, when you and mom ain't getting along, and then you might be dealing with the child support, the visitation, you might be on parole, probation, you might be struggling with employment. A lot of times dads might be dealing with 6 or 7 things. And if we can alleviate and provide dad with some strategies, and even work with mom and dad to help them understand the importance of children need both masculine and feminine energy. If we can do those things, man, we can reduce a lot of those negative childhood outcomes.
You're working on 2 fronts. And by the way, as you've shared, one of the things that pops up to me that I've always shared with fathers, and even when I've done work with women is the old African proverb that when the elephants fight, the grass suffers.
Yes.
You know, and as a father of 7, now I've lost one son, but of 6 children, I had a very unique experience, unlike probably most folks, because when my children's mother, my first wife, and I separated, I went to Atlanta, and at that point we had 5 children, and 3 of them, we gave them a choice. You want to go down to Atlanta with your dad, or you want to stay here? And 3 of the boys said we wanted to go to Atlanta. Now they were between ages, I think, 10 to about 13, and then one who didn't want to go, his mother and I said he needs to go, you know, and stuff, because and that was a blessing because we could agree on that, even though we were no longer together. One of the things that united us was our love and our care for the children versus using them as a weapon, you know. And that raising 4 boys alone was an incredible experience for me. And I got to share this little story, by the way, because when I went to Atlanta, I think some folks were about ready to give me a parade, because the fact that here I was, a single dad raising 4 boys alone. And then I went out to dinner with somebody and they just busted that bubble. She said, listen, you know, you're only doing what Black women have been doing all along.
Right.
You know, and it's so true. It is so true. Oh, man. But listen, so I mentioned you operating on 2 levels with fathers, but you're also doing a lot of work with young men, with children.
Yeah.
Let me just read off what I hear now as 9 books. Charles Drew and his Missing Stethoscope, Yetunde the Yogi, Gabe and his Green Thumb, Brooklyn's Finest, The Green Family Farm, Ida B, the Beekeeper, Winnie the Wizard of Wall Street, Chef Toussaint, Khalil's Way, and Asada's Dream. What is Asada's Dream about? I want to jump into that one.
So Asada's Dream would be out, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise in July. It's honoring Assata Shakur. And so what I do is there are a lot of different really dope children's book writers. What I try to do is I include aspects of our history and culture in all of my children's books, because it's unless your children go to an African-centered school like my 2 youngest did in DC, you're not gonna learn about Toussaint Louverture. So one of my books, Chef Toussaint, the lead character is named after Toussaint Louverture, and he's a 9-year-old chef.
Wow.
And so Asata's Dream is about a little girl whose parents felt like it was important that they gave their daughter a name that meant something, a name that she could live up to. So the lead character is an 11-year-old girl named after Assata Shakur, and her dream is to transform her community. So she runs for city council at 11 and wins. And so there'll be so even though it's a children's book for younger children, you know, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, for younger readers, it will introduce them to Assata Shakur. There'll be a illustration of Assata Shakur. There'll be a biography, you know, a very short biography about Assata Shakur, because again, our children are not getting history in schools, and unless they go to, again, African-centered school or a freedom school on Saturdays, many of the characters that I'm talking, one of my books is named after Ida B. Wells.
Right.
And this little girl is an entrepreneur. She's a beekeeper. Her and her family have been raising bees and harvesting honey for 100 years, but she is named after Ida B. Wells. When I go to a high school and ask young people they've never even heard of an Ida B. Wells.
Yeah. In fact, we had Mama Sophia Bandeli, who does an incredible piece, one-woman piece on Ida B. Wells and the whole lynching saga. And so I understood that. In fact, I've seen her perform that, and it was a powerful piece. Dr. David Miller, we're going to take a brief break and take a look back at Festival 54, and then we'll return with you. All right, welcome back, Voices of Festival. Listen, got to remind you, encourage you, implore you, beg you, subscribe, share, and like Voices of Festival. We want to build this vehicle up. Historically, the East and the International African Arts Festival, we have been on radio in the New York City area for probably 10, 15 years. WLIB, WBAI, WWRL. We have had a presence, and it has allowed us to keep relevant information out there. We also had, of course, Black News. And so we understand the importance of communication. And so we decided to create this vehicle called Voices of Festival. And through it, we reflect back on Festival, but it's also a platform to share information, such as what our guest, Dr. David Miller, is talking about tonight. He is in the vanguard of the efforts around fatherhood, looking at both the fathers as well as young Black men. And so want to thank you again. Share, subscribe, like. And of course, we also want you to assist the festival by making contributions. And before we end out, we're going to list out how you can do that to help continue to support the International African Arts Festival. David, welcome back. What has inspired your latest book? And again, thank you for asking me to contribute to it. And it's entitled Letters to My 13-Year-Old Self, Wisdom, Wounds, and Wins.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. Just a quick sidebar, man. I took as part of our rites of passage work in Baltimore, took a group of older young men and what's called our older youth strategy, 16 to 20-year-old young men, took these brothers out to lunch after their session. One of the sessions, they take a couple of weeks of Black entrepreneurship. Because when I was their age, nobody even told me that I could own anything. So these young brothers participate in a Black entrepreneurship piece. And then afterwards, we take them to a Black-owned restaurant. And at the end of the month, they'll pitch their business ideas to business owners. I was just really struck by the fact that a lot of these young brothers had never been to a sit-down restaurant.
Mm.
And I just think that from a, because a lot of times when you're growing up in the community, you go to the little spots, the little bodegas, the little restaurants, the little carryouts, not restaurants. They sliding you your food through plexiglass.
Yeah,
right.
Chicken
and fries.
And fries. Yeah,
that becomes how you live. And so I was just watching these brothers as they put the bread on the table, and I'm like, look, they all of them turn and look at me, and I'm like, that's for y'all, but you gotta go wash your hands, and we gotta honor the ancestors, and then y'all can eat. Man, I almost brought tears to my eyes because I think that a lot of our young men are missing out on so much. And so this new book is really like an intergenerational love letter from, grown Black men to boys of all ages. And so we put the call out and we asked Black men of 21 years of age and older to submit a short piece of advice, a short letter of advice. If you could go back and think back to when you were 13, what advice would you give yourself, given all of this wisdom and everything that you've learned? And the outpouring was tremendous. We received 210 letters from brothers as young as 21 to as old as 90. We got a 90-year-old brother who submitted a letter. He got his daughter to help him, his daughter and his granddaughter to help him submit. All socioeconomic backgrounds. We got brothers with law degrees, PhDs, no degrees, gang members, dudes who recently been, released from prison, a guy who might work at the local supermarket, all to just take a moment and defy what we hear so much about Black men, that Black men don't want to be transparent, that we don't communicate. And brothers are basically pouring their souls out in these very short letters. And it's been overwhelming, man, really sitting down, reading these letters. We're gonna divide the letters up into 5 themes. And the book should be out sometime in probably late September, early October. And I think it's going to be really, really, really groundbreaking. We're looking at a very unique, 1 or 2 really unique brothers to write the introduction. And it's not only a labor of love, man, but it's what so many of us have gotten growing up from seeing Black men in our community. Again, I'm 58, man. I still remember walking to the barbershop at 11 and 12 and just being intrigued by the conversation by the older Black men in the barbershop. And they weren't talking about women. They talking about finances. They're talking about the things that we need to start talking about in barbershops now. I mean, I have fond memories of just loving to go to the barbershop to be in the company of older Black men. And we're trying to recreate that. We're going to definitely do a barbershop tour where we're going to be working, with barbers across the country to get the book into barbershops. And I think it's a way, the way that the book is going to be structured, you can be in middle school, you could be in elementary school if you're a strong reader and appreciate the depth and the breadth of the letters, because the letters, our criteria was the letters had to be 100 words or less, because we didn't want brothers to be telling their whole life story.
Yeah.
We get in.
I understand.
Get in, give you advice, log off.
Yeah. And it was a challenge to keep it within 100, because as you get started, it like almost evolves, and before you know it, you could have written half a book.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the topic, and it made me have to go back to my 13-year-old self and what that was like. And it was interesting, with a single mother raising 3 boys alone, living in Brooklyn, and just kind of being I think in terms of a community, I have to say I was blessed, because I lived right across the street from a school that had a community center, which are gone like the dinosaurs. But it was a place that when I came home from school, I could go over there. I got homework help, and then I was playing everything from skelly, checkers, basketball, all of that stuff. And then when I left there and got home, my mother was home by then because, she was normally doing like 2 or 3 jobs. But it leads me to the question about village dads, because my father was gone. However, I was blessed that at 17, 18, I was introduced to an organization called the African American Students Association, which then led me to the formation of the East Cultural and Educational Center. And within that construct is where I ran into 3 men who essentially became my fathers, my advisors. But more importantly, they exemplified things for me. So it wasn't, I didn't go through a structured brotherhood or I shouldn't say brotherhood, but a manhood class or that kind of thing. It was about observing these folks and listening to them, much like being in the barbershop. That what's the term they use in biology? Osmosis.
Osmosis, yeah.
Yeah, you begin to get that. How important do you see the presence of the village dad?
I think it's critical. I don't think that it is talked about enough. I'm actually going to be doing a study, and I'm definitely going to circle back to you because over the summer I'm going to be like a co-principal investigator of 2 studies. One is going to be on grandfathers because we don't talk about the power of Black grandfathers, and in the academic literature, they only really talk about grandmothers. You see very few references about grandfathers. And then going to really look at I'd never like the term stepfather, but going to look at the dads who lean in and also those village dads, because I think when you look at the power of what these men are able to do, I think we all have stories about village dads who impacted our lives at very critical, points of our development, and we almost never even talk about them. So village dads are something that I want to start writing about even more.
What would you say has brought you the greatest joy so far in your work?
I think that, man, it's even being at this male involvement conference right now in South Carolina, all of these Black men are here from across the state of South Carolina and from other, spaces near the state of South Carolina. But I do think that Black men are really starting to lean in all the way in when we think about fathers and fatherhood. The data tells us that at the last census, there's been an increase in the number of single fathers. One of the things that we know in terms of like the community work that I do is that more and more mothers are saying, I'm out. I don't want to do this no more. And dads are stepping up and becoming single fathers. Yeah. So I think that there are some interesting phenomena that I see. I see a lot of young dudes with their children.
Yeah, I've noticed it.
I was in DC. I was over near Howard University a couple weeks ago, and I'm watching a little dude walk down the street with his baby, and he carrying the baby like a football. And I just ran over to him, and I'm like, bro, you got to put your hand under the base of your baby's head. And then I was saying to him, like, if you can, try to get an inexpensive stroller. You might pay $20 because you don't want to be walking no long distance with your baby. And he was real receptive, man. To the point where this summer I'm going to create something to honor fathers, that when I'm out, it might be just a little card with a motivational message that I'm just going to give to dads when I'm out, because I'm always seeing dads with
Yeah.
their children, and we need to affirm them because we know fatherhood is hard.
Yeah. Listen, one of the most interesting groups I came across when I was actively doing fatherhood work was a group called Fathers Raising Daughters Alone.
Yeah, yeah, I
You know,
remember them. Are they still? They were in
I'm not.
Maryland. They were in
Yes,
Maryland, weren't they?
yeah, right. They're in Maryland. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're still on the scene, but the concept was so interesting because you don't generally think about it. And let me tell you something, man. My children, my oldest is a daughter, rest are all boys, and I was blessed because I only had to raise boys, and I think raising a daughter is infinitely more challenging. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but it also reflected, I think, a flaw in me because essentially I let her mother deal with her. You understand? And I just dealt with the guys. But
There's a fear that there's a. We did a study in Atlanta, and we were interviewing guys, and a lot of the guys with daughters said that they were afraid.
uh,
Because they thought raising a boy is one thing. The
smack them
rough, the
upside the head.
tumble, the play. Yeah, you just bop them upside the head.
Yeah.
But the little girl, and then even doing things like doing your daughter's hair. Like over the
Yeah.
summer, we're going to be offering some workshops, like teaching dads how to do their daughter's hair. We got a good partner in Philly who's already doing it, but even doing stuff like that to bring dads out, to even do things like teach them how to do their daughter's hair. Because even if dad and mom are together, there are gonna be times when you can't just keep putting a baseball cap on the girl head. You gotta do the little girl head.
Yeah. Interesting because I know with my wife at the time, my daughter's mother was real interesting. We had been separated, and I'm living in Brooklyn, but we lived close together so that the arrangement was I had them from Tuesday to Friday, and then Friday night they were with their mother till like Monday and come back. But my daughter came home with this horrendous report card,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, you know what, she got to get jacked up. So the wife and I agreed on this, right? So when the daughter came in the room, my wife left the room.
Okay.
So look at this, I never actually got to jack her up, but it was so interesting that I mean, if it was one of my guys, I was ready to put the belt on their butt, but the daughter was just like it's difficult for a man, I think, and some to tighten up the daughter. I mean, I figure like mama needs to be the one to snatch her up, but it was interesting. This is a kind of left out the way thing, but are your books in jeopardy of being removed from wherever they may currently be?
I mean, again, a lot of my friends who have like major distribution deals with major publishing houses were hit hard by the book ban. But I'm real grassroots, man. So while I'm in a lot of different schools, that's never been like an issue for me. I mean, one of the interesting things people always, it's interesting because people will say to me, well, you should think about putting some like pictures of white kids on the covers of your books. I'm saying Black people will say this and they'll say, well, you'll sell more books. And my response is, well, then I don't need to sell no books because I'm writing for Black children.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to the exclusive private school and do book talks. I want to go to the most raggedy inner city schools. And, when I show up as an author, the children are just blown away because they don't necessarily get a chance to meet a Black male author who writes children's books. And so even with the Asata book, people were like, man, maybe you shouldn't do that because of the government. I mean,
push the envelope.
I push the envelope, man. I mean, yeah.
Push the envelope. Yeah, that's something. What has been the biggest challenge for you? Did anything ever hit you like you say, damn, I don't know if I need to be doing this anymore?
How honest do you want me to be?
Hey, man, straight ahead.
My biggest challenge is us. Black folks. I believe we have a us problem, man. I think that we have every level of expertise we need, every resource we need to do the things that we need to do to fortify our communities, to build our own schools, to run our own Saturday programs. But I think two things. I think one is we still woefully dependent on white folks.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. And then number two, I think that we suffer from a belief gap. I think we believe that we can't do what we need to do because of the oppression that we have experienced for so long. You know, and Carter G. Woodson talked about that lock on our brain, man. So my biggest problem is us. At what point, with all of these big brain, bright Black folks in this country, we got all the degrees, we out there riding around in $100,000 Range Rovers, and we got all of this stuff, but yet, so for example, when you do a national scan, and I don't like the term flash mobs, but that's the term that everybody kind of uses in the media to describe, you know, these large numbers of young people who will coordinate, you know, via social media to meet up at a park. Like in DC, it's been Navy Yard and other places. You know, you name a city, you've had these situations where you've had large numbers of youth who show up at these different public parks or downtown. There may be some looting, there's some fighting, there'll be some shooting, and it's just like that's happening on our watch, right? That's happening on our watch, and we have the ability to correct it, but we're still, you know, we want to blame elected officials, we want to blame the school system. We don't want to lean all the way in and look at the fact that these are our children. I know when I was growing up, and I'm sure it was the same thing with you, I couldn't be 12 years old and be 4 miles from my house at 11 o'clock at night.
Hello.
There was a certain set of standards that I learned from my family and that I even learned from my neighbors. And I just think that, man, we got an us problem, and our children are in peril. I mean, while you got a lot of children that are doing well academically and socially, we still have large numbers of young people who are in serious peril.
David, let me ask you this though, because there are times that I believe that there's some good stuff going on, but we don't know about it.
Yeah.
So as we close out, while you have identified some of the challenges that exist in your travels, have you come across some good stuff?
Oh,
where there's some young people who are knocking it out the park.
Oh yeah. I'm always amazed at one, I'm always amazed at, and it's interestingly enough, I was talking to a brother who was telling me about a program in Brooklyn that's doing amazing work with young Black males. And so you have grassroots organizations that are doing tremendous work with boys and girls across the country. There's some great organizations, like you look at like the Detroit Parenting Network in Detroit, Michigan, that's doing amazing, you know, grassroots advocacy work with parents. You look at Fathers Incorporated in Atlanta, a good friend of mine. I do some consulting work with them. They work with about 600 fathers every year in Metro Atlanta, helping them address issues like child support, visitation, you know, co-parenting. You know, in Baltimore, Center for Urban Families, doing some amazing work. You name a city, there's some great work being done. But I got to go back to one of the challenges. We got to start ensuring that we're passing the baton. Because a lot of the elders, that's what's happened in a lot of the rites of passage work. A lot of the elders that I knew 25, 30 years ago who were champions in the space of youth-based rites of passage are passing away or have passed away and didn't necessarily pass the baton.
But let me ask this, because you apparently received the baton. If folks want to be in touch with you about some of the programs that you are engaged in, or if you can be a resource to direct them, how can they reach you?
So I'm on Facebook, David Miller. You can just send me like a DM. I'm on Instagram at You Change Now, UCHANGENOW. Or you can go to my website, daretobeking.net, daretobeking.net, or my children's books website is which is probably the easiest to remember, IamDavidMiller.com. You just spell it out, IamDavidMiller.com.
So do you have any upcoming programs that folks might be able to plug into? Particularly because I know you're out of the DC, Baltimore area, the DMV.
Yeah, so June 13th in Baltimore, we're having our rites of passage transition ceremony for two groups, our younger boys, 10 to 13, and then our older boys, 16 to 20. You can reach us through BaltimoreRitesOfPassage.org. www.baltimoreritesofpassage.org.
Dave, I hope you would send me that information so we can announce it, because I think it's particularly important. Because, you know, one of my things is, and the reason why we have Voices of Festival, is that we don't do a good job of talking about the good stuff.
True. Yeah.
You know, and I just think that that's extremely important, that, you know, unless you got caught with kids or, you know, beat up your wife or something, stuff doesn't get any play.
Yeah.
And we have got to turn that around, because there is some good stuff going on. And we've got to be able to honor those things and let people know that, hey, maybe I can do this in my community. You know,
Sure.
I come out of an experience with the independent school movement in Brooklyn. We began out of the East, the Uhuru Sasa School. And, you know, it blossomed, but we not only functioned in Brooklyn, we became a catalyst for other independent schools cropping up around the country, Atlanta, Chicago, Baltimore, and other areas. And what we did then was establish the Council of Independent Black Institutions, CB, which was designed to help us create our own curriculum for the independent school movement, so that there is a process in place that the folks who are doing things, we've got to connect. We've got to build institutions. And I think if there's something that's off, is that there isn't that same level of commitment to institution building. Folk are doing a good job in silos, but we've got to create this movement, and it's going to come from the bottom up. And folks have got to keep doing the kind of work that you're doing, David. I really appreciate and honor you, and I'm glad that you found time for us. And look at that, you were even out of town,
right?
and found time for us. So we thank you. Listen, the producer asked me, and you got to do this real quick. Explain to folks, what is Head Start?
Yeah, Head Start is a federally funded initiative that's been around over 50 years. It was designed to improve educational outcomes and outcomes for families among young children. So there are Head Start centers across the United States that really work with 3- and 4-year-olds to get them school ready, to provide them and their parents with the resources that they need, whether it's academic, whether it's social and emotional, whether it's addressing any like behavioral challenges that 3- and 4-year-olds have. And it was really designed, you know, to support, you know, families in low-income communities and provide them with the tools that they need to be successful. And even when you think about Head Start, Head Start has done amazing work. It's always been focused on families, but I would say within the last maybe 25 years, and particularly more within the last 10 years, there's been a more concerted effort to really figure out ways to strengthen fathers, because we know one of the things that we do know is when fathers are involved, it increases the likelihood that our children will be healthy. Now, dad and mom might not be on the same page, but when dad is involved, it strengthens families.
Yeah, and absolutely. My sister-in-law, whom I call, my wife's sister, is a social worker at an elementary school here in the Maryland area. And she invited myself and Dr. Akmal Muwakil to a fatherhood session that they held there. And man, I was amazed at the turnout. Normally you're looking at 15, 20 people showing up. Must have had about 40 or 50 fathers there, both Latino and African-American. So it shows there is a receptivity if we are willing to reach out to them. Dr. David Miller, thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much. Stay the course. I know that you'll knock it out the park there in Myrtle Beach. And hopefully, if you get a chance, come up to the International African Arts Festival this year. We certainly would want to introduce you and have you say a few words to our audience. So listen, until next time, though, thank you again. Stay the course. We love you. Appreciate you.
Thanks a lot.
David P. Miller. Thank you, man. All right. Brings us to the close. Let me do some homework here now, please. All right. We need you to support by subscribing, share, and like Voices of Festival. And then with the International Arts Festival, we want to see you on the 7th of June at Restoration Plaza. And then for the 55th International Arts Festival at Lincoln Terrace Park, July 3rd through the 5th. And if you'd like to contribute, and we encourage you to support us, is to go to, and this is the easiest one. We got a couple of different things to do, but I find this is easy. Text us to give, text us. You can text to give. That's what it is. I'm sorry. At 917-268-1592. It's called Text to Give. And you call that number and you make a contribution. And we want to encourage you to be a sustainer so that you would make a monthly contribution to the festival. And for our vendors, space is moving quickly. So if you want to come out and participate in this 55th International Arts Festival, call the office at 718-638-6700. So if you're a vendor and you want space, there's still some available. 718-638-6700. My name is Adeyemi Bandeli. Thank you for joining us on another podcast of Voices of Festival. Thanks to our producer, Damon Beware Van Zant, and we look forward to seeing you all next week. Until then, be blessed. Peace.